So, what does Nigel Farage have in common with a milkshake? And possibly a better question would be, what does a milkshake have to do with post-truth? So, I'll just explain what post-truth is, as opposed to a lie. A lie denies a specific fact in direct contradiction of the provable truth. Post-truth denies the existence of any sort of truth at all. So, a liar will tell you that the carrot he's waving in front of you is a political opponent. Post-truth will argue that since the carrot has around 99% of your DNA, there is actually no difference between a politician and a carrot. Perhaps that was a bad example. Moving swiftly on, I'm Granniopteryx. Let's start with a better example of post-truth. This is one of the messages I got underneath my video about the attack on Nigel Farage in Clacton. And the commenter says as follows: the name of the attacker is Emily Hewitson, and not only is she a Reform Party member, but her boyfriend is one of Farage's advisors and a Reform press officer. It was a staged managed, one word, it's either a staged incident or a stage managed incident. And I'm correcting you, the person who sent this, because you're obviously, you're either not too bright or you're in a terrible hurry. I'll put it that way. It was a stage-managed incident meant to provoke outrage and sympathy. There are photos of her and Farage at events holding each other and smiling, etc. You've been conned. No, I'm not so sure that this guy has been conned. I think he was an incident there of post-truth. But I certainly wasn't conned. Now, if you're a student type happy to grab anything that's anti whatever it is, then you're going to believe this sort of thing that's circulating. If you're a sensible person, you will consider that, first of all, Farage is a grown-up and wouldn't resort to this sort of thing because it's so easily found out. And the second thing is that the woman who attacked him was arrested. Now, if this was all done as a stage-managed thing, she would still be prosecuted for wasting police time. But the whole thing wouldn't make any sense from the point of view of provoking outrage and sympathy. The only outrage it provokes in me is that somebody like you, the commenter here, that you could believe this. And this is what this commenter either found or had passed on to him. Oh, yeah, maybe I should. Well, no, you went on Twitter here. I'm not going to blur your name. This is Emily Hewitson, it says. She threw a milkshake at Nigel Farage today. It was a PR stunt. Don't fall for it. Here's a picture of the two ladies. And they are two ladies. This is Emily Hewitson tweeting, "Does anyone know of any good lawyers?" I think this guy is actually guilty of some, possibly libel. Now, I just want to, for those of you who are still not convinced, hang on a minute. Here are the two ladies. Oh, they do look just the same, don't they? I mean, apart from the fact that this lady here, Miss Hewitson, has a longer nose with a slightly bulbous end, and this one has a rather retroussé nose. Yeah, they look exactly the same, don't they? And apart from the fact that Miss Hewitson's face Her cheeks bunch up when she smiles here, whereas this woman who's smiling in the same way, her cheeks are flatter. But they still look exactly the same, don't they? And this Hewitson face is a lot rounder and squatter, and this is a lot longer. But they do look the same, don't they? And Miss Hewitson's chin here is quite small and rounded, whereas this one here has a more defined chin, and the whole jaw is longer and somewhat heavier. But they still look exactly the same. And I mean, they both have blonde hair, don't they? Apart from the fact that Miss Hewitson has a very high forehead and a very rounded forehead as well. In fact, her whole face is characterized by roundness, whereas this one has a much lower forehead and her entire facial shape is longer. And then let's just have a look at those eyebrows. Am I making my point here? Hang on. That didn't work. Let's try this. Oh, here we are. I'll just try checking those eyebrows if I can get them both in. I think that might work. Just a minute. Oh, no. Well, anyway, we've got part of the eyebrow here. You see this here. This is called the supraorbital ridge on the eye. Now, if you notice, this eyebrow here goes as far as the end, as this corner of the supraorbital ridge, and then it stops. In this case, the eyebrow is longer, and there is a sort of depression here where the whole eye sinks in from the supraorbital ridge. That's oh, but they still look exactly the same, don't they? All right, well, let's just get them back now. And you will also notice that the lip here overshoots the lower lip, whereas this one, it's tighter and not so defined. That's the difference between the two photographs. It didn't stop the stand up to racism, by the way, from glorying in this. Here we have a picture of the throw and love milkshake, hate racism, it says here, and then there's a laughing emoji, which is very typical student politics, not thinking about the future implications of this sort of dangerous protest. It's not only that it's dangerous because we don't know that it's milkshake there, and it's not only dangerous because it discourages politicians from actually meeting the people, because you get nutcases like this, but it's also dangerous because of the stories that it gives rise to. I was just telling you, there are people saying that it was a stunt by Farage. So you've got this problem now of people who will always say it's this colleague of Farage's rather than a nutcase attacker, and this puts all of politics onto rocky ground. It's a very Russian technique, by the way, and it destroyed democracy in Russia, and it will destroy democracy here. So the left will say, well, you know, it's a win-win. You either humiliate Farage or you cast doubt on his integrity as a candidate by suggesting that he would run those sorts of stunts. And yeah, that is actually very dangerous times for democracy when we don't know what to believe. And unfortunately, we've got people like this chap here who seemed only too glad to believe that. Only too happy to believe this sort of nonsense without checking it out. And yeah, you can't have a conversation with somebody with that sort of mentality. So that's quite depressing. Sorry about that. Okay, Till next time.
Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the granniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.granniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.